What's up guys, it is that Pain again. I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at my last island raid, the one from over a month ago, not the one I just had. I will be making a separate video on that. This last island raid I just had is actually pretty good. I feel like the teams coordinated super well against us. We had honestly, it was fun. The only issue is I think like matchmaking in Island Raid is probably the worst in any regard, right? And the reason I say this is AR. Generally, we get pretty close opponents every single time, or teams that are generally well balanced. Genesis War can be hit or miss, but most of the time we get some decent opponents. The only issue is like they mix it up with enemies that are kind of on the weaker end, so it's kind of like I said, it's hit or miss a lot of these times. But Island Raid is especially bad. I swear it's always 3 or 4 alliances that can are the only ones that can really compete. And most of the time the top alliance is ally, which kind of makes it less, it makes it more boring, which is actually what we don't like. So we usually like to pick out like one of the stronger alliances or something like that, and we like to actually decide not to ally against them. That's usually what we do. That's why I sometimes feel bad as well, because we had like this alliance, I think 6TW6 or whatever. I had like a friend in there, and we obviously couldn't ally them because they were really strong and we wanted a good fight. But you guys get the point, right? I think like the matchmaking super unbalanced a lot of the time, and then like we got 3v1, but two of these teams weren't really able to do a whole lot just because they lack the whale power, you know what I mean? And we just have like Big Daddy, we have Crow, and like I just feel like if we got in a higher G some of these times, it would be more fun, right? Like we were in G12, we're in G12, guys. We registered nearly 8 billion might, I feel like. We have some pretty good whale power. I obviously don't think we'd be able to hang with like TPL or Kako, but I feel like we would be able to do kind of our own. We do better than some of the teams they throw in these brackets, right? I mean, you even saw like Group, I think it was, in G8, which made absolutely no sense. I just find matchmaking kind of atrocious at times. But having said, let's actually talk about what we're watching. So we did have this ally in the corner of the map hit, and they actually went harder than I expected them to. I honestly thought they were originally going to maybe lose this 69 RE team, and then I noticed they had this Crash dude who was pretty freaking beefed out. We did try to field support a bit, or at least like, Big Daddy kind of would go down there, help them on the field. Yada yada yada, and they had a pretty good back and forth with these guys. 69 RE. So honestly, that was pretty actually satisfactory, because I didn't expect them to be able to pull as much weight as they did, which isn't like a disrespectful remark. I just wasn't really expecting it. Sometimes we like kind of pick some of the weaker teams to ally with, or teams that we kind of think might be on the weaker end, and honestly hit ended up going over our expectations. So it is what it is. Also, this fight right here, this is a 4v1 on our outpost. They all declared war at the same time against us. So you're literally watching us trying to field fight a 4v1, and then we lose our outpost fight like so freaking fast, because not only are we just flooded on the field, we're so focused on like field fighting that we just can't fill this like outpost. We're not gonna be able to fill it. We're not gonna be able to pay attention to it. Not to mention, I don't even think we would have been able to take the triple rallies. It was just OD. This was insane. I freaking appreciate them for going all in on us like this, though. This was pretty fun. Best freaking part of this island raid for sure. Although fights like these are especially painful, honestly. This was just freaking brutalizing us in the field, but we were trying our best to, put up a fight, fill our hospitals, and then we just, we'd have to heal it out. But yeah, it was pretty fun. And I mean, honestly, I was a little bit jealous of our allies, Nelly, who had been on the left side of the map, who had to fight FZ. And honestly, the reason I say this is because we were spectating most of this fight. We weren't really in the actual fray itself. And they got like a team that was actually really strong on the field, which I feel like we would have had more, like a lot of fun kind of going back and forth with those guys. Not to mention, honestly, I do think like they would have put us on the defensive, which would have made it pretty fun for us, because I do like being able to go on the defensive. A lot of the time we're just on the offensive because we're just the stronger team, I'm gonna be honest. And it's just more fun to be on the defensive in a lot of these cases, especially Island Raid. Like AR is one thing, but Island Raid, it's like your own alliance, especially like this last this island raid we just had, where we got 3v1. Only issue is like a lot of these teams were just lacking the whale power, so they weren't able to do as much. Also, this is us, by the way, 2v1ing on this outpost. FZ actually did walk down in advance and started like gathering over here, so they were already on the field. And then FGO is the one who were actually declaring a war on. It was us. It was I think it was Nile or whatever, and we basically just went on the field here, slammed it, got the outpost down, and called it a day. But honestly, I've been really impressed looking at our field presence recently. I feel like we've been kind of we've been kind of powering up recently, and it makes me happy, guys. Like, I know, I feel like I've been bragging about this kind of stuff, but it just makes me satisfied, like looking at this kind of stuff and just being like, damn, we've really kind of grown a lot from where it used to be. You know what I mean? But by the way, we're looking at Nelly basically fighting FZ right here. I was a little bit confused with Nelly because what Nelly did is they built a second tower around their outpost, and I get what they were trying to do. I guess block it off so that FZ wouldn't be able to directly maybe touch their outpost. But honestly, in this case, Nelly just confines themselves to two towers. If anything, they would be better off just building towards FZ and forcing these guys to fight them in like an awkward tower. Whereas if they wanted to build around it, they would have to literally build an awkward kind of way to get to their outposts. You know what I mean? In a lot of these cases, these teams are just going to focus on the one tower because they're like, okay, it's not worth all the effort to kind of like, build around them and have to connect to multiple towers, yada, yada, yada. But in this case, they did just, they built two towers, and I didn't really like the choice that Nelly made. I didn't really like it. I wasn't a fan. And then they also used like Victor on Garrison here. And I want you guys to know this person that was garrisoning has an insane infantry, and I don't think his Victor matches up at all. I had to tell them in like the leadership chat. I was like, yo, try, please try like, the Stella garrison. And they did actually try it, so I gotta appreciate them for that, for actually like listening to me and trying the meta. But it did hurt me to watch and see them doing that. And I mean, they're using their freaking Stella to counter rally, which, it's like, bro, you could have that in the garrison and probably pop the damn rally, you know what I mean? Or at least trade relatively well. I don't think this Victor was doing all that well, and I don't think his armaments are nearly as good as his Stella. So, I mean, and the white numbers kind of told me that as well. But like I said, I am jealous of Nelly. They had a pretty good fight here. They were even getting their tower swarmed. Like, I don't know what it is about towers getting swarmed. I love when teams swarm our towers, unless you got like absolute freaking beluga whales, right? Like I remember our last Genesis war, our just that just happened. We had to fight freaking Ash. We had to fight them and stuff. The guys from it's called IC8 or yeah, I think it's IC8. Freaking monsters, right? And they just swarmed our towers to death. And I'm like, bro, we can't fill this. We were caught off guard pretty hard too, because we weren't expecting that kind of swarm, swarming death swarming, right? Like I sometimes expect the swarming, but I just don't expect to the degree we get it, and then I freaking regret it because I didn't really prepare my cards properly at all. Either way, this is just fun to watch. I mean, I don't really have a lot of commentate on this. It was a pretty good fight. Nelly ends up getting pushed back. They are also holding on the left side of their flank. I think it's against Mod 1 and just trying to make sure that Mod doesn't come and cut them off. Mod started moving, I believe, when FZ started pushing them, so they did actually have to give up some of this ground to make sure that they didn't get cut off or whatever. And we literally couldn't do much because we're tied down by cement, so we're waiting for our cement to actually get up so we could come around. And what's crazy is, by the way, these guys break before we even get there. Basically, we end up allying with 59 5G or whatever here. And as you see, 59 5G is also trying to support here by dropping a tower. And you will see that they get absolutely smacked on this tower, which actually sucks. But what also sucks is they honestly could have placed the tower and just double rallied together against FZ originally. And I will say, like you'll see here in a little while, they actually do end up doing that. And I think it's like because of what FZ did that they actually end up getting killed. Because if FZ didn't place a tower, that ends up getting broken and then kind of reinitiates everybody's vigor. That makes 59 5G drop a tower where it's actually able to be protected as well by Nelly, who's able to field control over that. Not to mention us, because we also drop a helipad over here. I don't know if you guys noticed that all of the teams dropped helipads, all their allies and stuff. So FZ is getting a ton of freaking field support here. We drop a helipad, but we can't really do much against like 2-3 alliances or whatever. We're only able to do so much, so we're just trying to support where we can. This is just absolutely brutal. But basically, 595G just gets absolutely smashed in this tower, honestly. We just really couldn't do much. Their field control was just too much. We couldn't push. We couldn't like counter rally even properly because they just swarmed our counter rallies out. Although we did trade really well in the counter rallies, I will say that they still got swarmed out. So it was just kind of like we couldn't drop the rally in time. And then Nelly's also still getting pushed pretty hard, and that tower's out of range for Nelly to even like help control it, help counter rally, help field control. So it was honestly a really bad circumstance. I did kind of agree originally with what 595G did by placing their tower back there because I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to spread these guys out, trying to make them kind of defend their back towers. But honestly, they weren't kind of in a position to do that. I don't think they were strong enough either. And that's also why they just kind of like, I feel like they put themselves one foot in the grave, if you guys get what I'm saying. So honestly, this could have really went better, could have went worse as well. But and then freaking FZ just has so much whale power that they swarm these towers to death. So like the fillers are also struggling on this tower, probably making their trades even worse. I mean, you'll see this tower report in a minute, but it is pretty disgusting. But yeah, I'm going to talk about it before we actually get there. Basically, this tower does end up popping and 59 5G falls back. I believe they were actually planning to just kind of give up because they did actually burn out in this tower. I do not blame them at all. It was freaking... That was a painful report. But they do end up popping an FZ tower, which was actually trying to connect to both teams. They were trying to build and connect to, I guess, Nelly, or maybe just push 59 5G back. And I think after they lost that tower, FZ kind of just lost momentum as well. And then that also brought 59 5G's momentum back, just kind of like, why don't you guys build a tower here so, we can all field support you and kind of try to protect you. And once they get that tower down, it's kind of over for FZ because they just get their tower double rallied, especially that tower that they were building. They were already getting that one smashed. So it just kind of was a really bad situation. As you see here, by the way, our helipad did destroy. So our bases that are left behind, they do try to hit us a little bit. And I think they recognize, okay, we're too focused defending on our two sides or like fighting on our two sides. We can't, like, even if we send a rally over here, they're just going to swarm them out. So they just stopped hitting us. But we were able to field support a little bit. They did have some help from FGO. FGO did have 2 whales, so they were quite annoying on the field. There was literally nothing we could do about these guys. They're just a bunch of freaking monsters over here. But yeah, let's look at this report, though. This is actually really gross. Oh no, these are our counter rallies. Our counter rallies were actually doing really well on AoE. The swarmers were getting annihilated. I don't know if I looked through some of the reports already. I wasn't paying attention. But like we were doing like 1 mil damage to some of these guys. I know some people got dead swarming our counter rallies. It was pretty deadly. But nonetheless, they did drop our counter rallies just because they were just ego swarming so much and we couldn't really do much about it. Had no fillers because we're freaking counter rallying. We didn't even have a full rally, right? That's also the thing. We didn't even have full freaking counter rallies because we're rallying from in this position. But yeah, you do see here this was like a 1-to-5 trade on the tower. That was disgusting. And then FZ does try to drop a tower, which is to, I guess, connect to maybe one more Nelly tower. I don't think that's the case though. I think it's specifically for 595G maybe. I'm not really sure. But they do rally this together and they're able to kind of put some considerable pressure over here. We're able to like field support a little bit, so we're able to kind of drain these guys, I suppose. But FZ's honestly super crazy on the field. I can't even say we were draining them because they just had constant momentum on the field until they just kind of backed up. And I guess they decided to kneel. So I love I'm showing you guys all this footage of our allies fighting, but it's just like a few of us in the field. When we do get to our actual fights ourselves, it was nothing really special because what ends up happening is we fight FGO for a little bit, right? They don't really defend much near the outpost, but we basically start spam building. We use a building skill and we just spam build down their towers towards their village. So they literally can't do anything, even if they want to defend like 2 towers, right? Because they had like 2 really good garrison actual garrisons between their 2 main whales. We would just build to the next tower, smash that if they didn't like kind of jump back, and we just kind of kept going. So it's like they really couldn't do much. They could have maybe gone the offensive with us, but they couldn't control the field. So we would just swarm out really any rally they sent. And honestly, it ended really fast. It was kind of anticlimactic. I really thought like FGO would be the like end all be all boss for us, and then like it was kind of boring. I'm not even trying to be rude. I don't even blame them. I think they just kind of struggled on the field. They honestly had the whale power that could really give us some trouble. Like they had at least 2 whales plus maybe more garrison wise and whatnot. But we just like I said, we overwhelmed them on the field. They couldn't control the field, so they couldn't go on the offensive. They could defend, but they could only defend so many towers, and like that only goes so far. So if we're able to kind of just spread you out like super thin, you're going to just be forced back to your helipad at some point. I will say they did hold their 2 towers or so around their helipad, and we just couldn't really break those because they were just so strong. But, like, at some point we're not going to just bonk heads with them to bonk heads. It was like we were trading like 1-for-1 on like rallies and stuff. At like best, maybe we would rally a rider garrison because they can, they can't eat swarms that well, but it wasn't like, it wasn't great. So we just kind of like sat there and had a stalemate for the rest of the event. That being said, I do think this is about the end to my commentary. I hope you guys did enjoy this though, watching this, FZ fight. This was honestly the highlight of the matchup. I actually found this to be kind of good to watch. You do see here we do fight FGO a little bit. We swarm their tower out. They did have like 2 really good range garrisons. They had some rider garrisons as well, but when they had rider garrisons up, we could just swarm that, you know what I mean? But these range garrisons are no joke. We freaking love using them. We freaking hate fighting them though. It's brutal, guys. It's a brutal world we live in. And like I said, though, that being said, I do appreciate you guys for watching as always. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I will see you guys in the next one. That is about it. And yeah, peace out.